So what shall we talk about today?
Well, I did know a little that you were involved in the Stonewall movement. So I was wondering if we could talk about that.
All right, it was in July 29th, 1969. I was on summer vacation. I taught in Connecticut, and school was over in June. So in July, I was the day man at my recording studio, and Fernando Vargas would be the night man. So when I came in, I finished and said, I'll see you tomorrow. We lived together on 45th Street. And what I did, I took a subway down to the village because I had read in the paper that there was some kind of a problem the night before. And I didn't go down to see what the problem was. But the second night it turned out was a bigger happening than the first night. So
Stonewall was a bar.
it was a bar, and it was a bad bar. I wouldn't want to be seen in there.
It was a bad bar because of the gay it was a gay hangout
Well,
place.
no,
or
it was there were young kids and drugs.
it was just a very
drugs
was involved.
and some of the kids were really young. Danny Garvin was one. He's a friend now, but
So you went down out of curiosity to.
right.
Okay.
And again, there was the police
Okay.
in front of the bar, and while I stood there, across the street, they were pulling somebody out and putting them into a paddy wagon. Paddy meaning an Irish.
So there was already a gathering when you arrived. There was.
Yes, yes. And they were yelling pigs, pigs at the police. So I was standing next to a guy who says, hey, let's throw this garbage can over, a wire basket.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, let's do. But he took his cigarette lighter out and he made it burn. And we had to throw it fast or we'd get burned ourselves. So we threw it right at the police car. Well, immediately I saw a policeman coming for us. And I had visions of...
You couldn't be in the papers if that.
Yeah, the
came out,
Daily
and
News
there'll
would
be a
have a
big
picture
problem
of
in
me.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
So did you ever find out the real reason why that they call it a riot? Some people call it the Stonewall Riot.
Well, a riot
But it
would
wasn't a really
imply
riot.
that we all knew each other and we had pre-planned to be there. So I call it an uprising, the Stonewall Uprising.
Because it was more of a police brutality of the homosexuals that was.
Well, it was a happening that had not been pre-planned. So what I did, and here's a picture that I got on the web, as a matter of fact, of some of the gays at a later time who were marching against the pigs. And so what I did, I ran around the right-hand side of the triangular building where Edgar Allan Poe, by the way, got cough medicine from a free infirmary. So I ran around on the right side and to the back, and then I was going to come out on the left side. The only thing is the cops are there, and so I very carefully avoided that particular cop who was running after me. And
This lasted how long? How long did this protest or this
the second
resistance?
night was the worst. What I did was I didn't wait to see what was going to happen because the cop had chased me. I fled to Fedora's restaurant. That was another
Which was
safe place. And just as some blacks only went to black places they knew they wouldn't be harassed,
The gays had their safety.
our gays did the same thing. Now, you may wonder if this was the first place that gays assembled. I did a little research today. There was a gay group called the Fred Gray Association that in the 1860s met. Now they
were still gays in the 1860s as
yeah,
well?
well, they were
Oh,
always
this is not a
gays.
20th century...
Right. Now who would have been there? Well, there were poets, there were actresses, there was a journalist whose name was Mencken, not H.L. There was a social critic, playwright, an artist, and a poet by the name of Walt Whitman. So in other words, when you went to a bar at night to get a beer, you went to Fred Gray Association's place. So it wasn't the first. And in fact, there were in New York organizations called the Mattachine, and that preceded the Stonewall. From Stonewall, we did have associations. One, I was the treasurer of it because I was a little concerned that some of the members were not honest. I mean, this was a motley group. I have a picture here. How do I get this off? Oh boy.
there was nothing?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Okay, so I volunteered with these two people to be the treasurer, because she on the left, who's transgender, she had started some kind of a program, and she would take the cash in, and then she would pay the expenses, and then she'd give the rest of the treasurer. Wow. She took in $80 or so, and I got maybe $5. And it occurred to me maybe they need a treasurer. So we started this Stonewall Veterans Association.
So now, you said this was in June.
July.
Around June and July. And coincidentally, the gay march that we have here in New York, that's around that time as well.
Yes.
So does that have anything to do with the Stonewall movement?
Yes. It became an annual memorial. And
So that's the history of
not
that.
only here, then it would be in different cities around.
Right. So this inspired, I would say, a lot of the movements in San Francisco that you hear.
Right. Not only in San Francisco, but in Mexico, in France, in England, every country.
So because this was an uprising of equality.
Yes. For example, you in Bangladesh, I don't think have such a parade, but I know somebody from Bangladesh who, with another person from Bangladesh, met me at one of those gay parades. And the man who thought that there were only a dozen gays in the world suddenly saw a parade that lasted 2 hours and more. And he couldn't believe that there were that many gays.
Because you know what was it spread, the reason why I believe it spread across the globe, it's not an uprising of a physical people, 1 or 2 or 3, they're counting the numbers. It was an uprising of thought. People, you could know that when you're being oppressed, because you did say that there were safe places.
Yeah.
The reason why you needed that was because of the social oppression that you guys felt.
Mm-hmm.
So the uprising was that, hey, now is a time that we could stand up and fight for our rights.
See why uprising is a better word.
Well, yes, of course. The people always kind of the riots. They say usually Stonewall Riots because it was like the vandalism.
The bar itself was dirty. The drinks were watered. It was not a happy place, and you could not touch. So therefore, the dance that was invented, you didn't touch. You could be erotic without touching
Each other. Well, sadly, it's not like that anymore.
No.
Thank you, Warren, for sharing this with me. I appreciate it.
All right.